Welcome to episode 11 of Simon Says. This episode is all about cutting and styling. We've got 3 models, we've got varying lengths. I always put a commercial spin on things because I want to use these looks into the salon as I do every day. Leighton House is the product. We're going to get that into their hair and make some beautiful makeovers. All right, this is our model, Alistair. Alistair has a lot of hair, so we're going to have some fun here. Look how long it is, and it's really disconnected. It's an old shaved off undercut that we've grown out. So what I want to do with the haircut is scissor cut it rather than too much clippers. I think we've been clippering men's hair really short for a long time, and hair is coming back, a little bit of movement and a little bit of texture. So I will use a bit of clipper on this back hairline because sometimes they get a bit gnarly and they grow up in different directions, so I might taper that off, but I'll assess that when I get in there. But I'm going to take it in finger short, tailor it in, disconnect it slightly, but I'm going to even it up so there's not so much difference between here and there. So we can slick back and get it quite classic, or we could then, ruffle it up for the weekend where it could have it really quite contemporary and textured. So let's get in there and cut heaps of hair off. I can't wait to do this. All-purpose 6-in-1. I don't need all the 6 things that it does. I just need porosity filler. There's a little bit of old highlight in here, so that's going to help combability. And it does add a little bit of volume and luster to the hair. So great to cut with because it's not going to jam up your scissors. Spray it on like this, or we can do this, which I think is the best trick. It forms a cream. So you do that, which I think is a bit of theatre for the client, if anything. Whether you spray it on or you do that, and then get it on like that. I think it's just, what a great product and a versatile product. So I'm going to pack it into those ends, just so I don't get catchy as I'm going to cut most of that off, to be honest. But I just don't like it to tangle up as it's drying. It just makes combing so much easier. And you can see there's a little bit of shine on the hair as well, which looks good in the mirror. There's nothing worse than hair drying out with no product in it, so I don't like to cut and then dry, put the product and then dry. I think it's good to go from wet to dry as one, and then it starts getting that shape in there with that bit of product in there. It's a really important step. So I'm changing the section of Alistair's hair, so it was cut up quite high last time. It was really quite short and shaved off, so I want to make that a little bit broader. So I do a horseshoe section. It's just above the round of the head. The lower that is, the more width you will have. The higher it is, the leaner the haircut. So I want to create a bit of girth around here and width, so I've come down just that little bit lower. How you find that is comb to the scalp, and just after that it rounds off, it's just above there from that recession area. So if you do that, you won't go too low and you won't go too high. So it's really important to measure that and feel that out. So what I want to do is make sure that I've got 4 fingers that side, and it's 4 fingers width that side to the top of the ear. Now we know that ears are uneven, but you want to balance that out as much as possible. Use your mirrors to get that balance. It's quite simple. It's 1 part of the haircut, 2 part of the haircut. And that's how I usually divide my men's haircuts up. What I want to do is cut with scissors. So we're going to go a slightly backward diagonal section, like that. Right, so I'm going to find that guide. So fingers are parallel to the part is slightly diagonal back, and my fingers will always stay parallel to that. So I'm just cutting with those in between those 2 knuckles. I want to keep the tension really consistent. So backward diagonal to the back of the ear. I can see my guide, but there it is. Don't get greedy, don't cut all the way down, just reposition your fingers and come down to that 2nd knuckle. You can see already that weight starting to build up. It's like a graduation. So I'm building it up and I'm going to build into this. As I said, we're going to dishevel this a little bit and take a fair bit off the top. So as we come down here, you can see I've still got this diagonal back section till I come to the middle section there. So what happens there is that builds up that graduation all the way through. And the only bit of clipper I'm going to use is on here. I'm just going to taper that hairline out because you can see it grows up. So I'm going to come in there and scissor over comb and then probably just clipper just to fade it out a little bit. But I want to leave a bit of hair through here. I think it suits Alistair's hair a lot more. And I think that's where men's haircut's going. It's getting a little bit longer and a little bit more broken up rather than being so regimented and military. So I'm still working parallel to that part. It's still going in a backward diagonal section like this. And I've got one more section to go and it's going to overcross this already cut hair from the other side. So I came down that way on this side and that way on the other side. And then it just overlaps. So when you run out of hair, you finish cutting that section. And this gives you all that strength and structure through that midsection. And then later on, as I said, I'm going to just taper that away. I'm going to keep this at this length. I really like that length. So this should be my last section, and it is. You just take off that little point, and it is going to connect that haircut up the back through there, so we get this nice graduation through there. It's really understated, but it's strong. Now when we cross-check, what I want to do at the back is go the opposite way. And all I'm doing here is just taking those very ends off, not too much. So I'll go back the opposite way. So it's a forward diagonal. And that just cleans it up. So forward diagonal. You just see a little bump there. I'm just going to take that off. And that'll really strengthen that area up. And when it comes to the sides, what I do is come back horizontally. Like this. So I can see that my technique's pretty good. I just have that little bit of discrepancy there. So I just take that off, and what that does is just strengthen it. If you have to take a big bit off going like that, you've got to go back in and go like this, because it shouldn't come off like that. It's just a matter of just taking that little bit of a bump off, just ever so slightly, and it just strengthens every time you do it. And then, we'll scissor over comb through here just to clean all that area up later on. So what I'm going to do now is just clean all that area. See all that soft broken hair there? I just want to come around the hairline. I usually use this hand just to stabilize my scissors, so I get strength there. So cutting in front of the ear. So from the top of the ear in the middle, I pull the ear back and cut that hair, and then when I do back this way, comb the hair forward, and then I come up to that middle top of the ear, just pointing that away. This side, I'm left-handed, I'm going to move up to the middle and come back to the middle again. I don't want to go all the way around because I just want that to be natural as possible to the hairline. Okay, so I've got my shape in. You can see the graduation coming out really nicely there. It's really strong through this area. I don't like going up around the round of the head. I think men's haircuts are about strength and structure and being square. So that adds to that, gives it a little bit of bulk through there. What I want to do is just tidy up this area with scissor over comb. And I might come back in with the really tiny clipper and just refine that, but I'll do that when the hair's dry right at the end. I like to start my scissor over comb on semi-dry hair, not when it's really wet. You won't get any marcation if you do that. If it's too wet, it tends to get a little bit lining. So this is about perfect now. It's just damp. So what I'm doing is I anchor the comb in like this, and then I pivot and I suspend. Yeah, so it goes like this every time. I'm using that same memory. It's really, really, really important tip. It's my top tip. To go in there, anchor the comb, pivot it and suspend it and go consistently through the hair. So I'm going to do that little section, that section, I move around the head. I use the previously cut section as my guide, so I can see that there. Keep my scissors moving. My scissor moves quicker than my comb. So you just got to practice scissor over comb to get it spot on. It was my worst nightmare when I started cutting. I was dreadful at it. And I just put a number 3 on and clipper it off, or a number 4. And I think this is going to be the thing that pushes you into that next level, and you're going to get more clients because they're going to, he scissor cuts or she scissor cuts my hair, and it's better. It's much better. You've got control over the look. And men are a great way to start your clientele. You know, you get them nailed and then move on to the ladies. I think it's a really great discipline. You can carry this across all these techniques into ladies' hair. For me, it's just consistency with men. It's got to be as good as or better than the last haircut. You know, they don't act like they're not fussy, but they're really particular about their look. And you know they're going to get home and look in the mirror and go, that bit's not the same. Or, you know, I know a lot of complaints are around the ears aren't clean. You know, just clean it up, push it both ways, and get that line absolutely perfect. I strive to do that with every men's haircut, every haircut. So where the hair grows a little bit sideways here, if you come around maybe this side, we've got, you can see the hair pushes back this way. So what I want to do is go a couple of ways over it. So I'll come straight up, and then I might come back over this way and fade it out that way. So you're pushing against the way it grows. Because if that's not tapered in a week or even a half a week, it will start to soften and it loses its strength. So all those minor details are what makes a great haircut. So I've got my little mini clippers, and what I want to do with that is just fix that hairline where it goes sideways. I just want to come in and get a machine to do it. I think it just, that way it does just tighten it up. You can see I'm pushing the hair against the grain, so it just shortens it up a little bit, but I'm going ever so slightly, just anchoring, but I'm at that pivot stage, I'm not suspended. So I push it right into the neck, and then I'll come down the opposite way and just let the hairline be itself, rather than putting a strong, sharp, straight line in. I've got to do a little bit of that. I take the points off, but I let it be itself, rather than, I don't like square, artificial looking hairlines on men. So it's just beveling off that last section. And if you're going to put a degree on it, you go at about 45 degrees. So it's literally bevel. And then I can just take that hair away. Same with the sideburn. Just square them up a little bit and then just bevel that off. So you're not really doing anything with this hair. I like this hair. Okay, we're getting to the top section now. We're finished underneath. Really happy with that shape. Now we want to build on this. It's not going to connect up to that. I'm not going to cut it that short. I'm going to cut it slightly longer. For that to make it look like it visually connects, I'm going to use a similar angle. So I'm going to come out here like this and cut this hair off there, increasing the length slightly at the front. And that's going to overhang. But when it pushes back, by putting that little bit of graduation in there, it's going to blend in visually. And that's what I want. I don't want to connect it up. I think connecting it up's just a boring haircut. You want to have a bit of shape and a bit of play, but I don't want this big floppy undercut feel with it. So it's going to go quite short. I reckon we're going to take at least half off. So what I wanted this to do at the back is connect up though. So I'm going to take the middle part and then we'll come back ear to ear. We'll address that first. So what we'll do is a vertical part. I'll pick up the section underneath, the previously cut section underneath. And I'm going to connect that up. And I'm going to come back to the previously cut section. So I'm going to start an undercut as I go. So that makes sense. I'm going to blend this into here. The next section will come back to this section. The next section comes back to that section. So I'm increasing length as I move around, and that's building into this. I don't want to just start at this corner and then build because it'll go too steep. So it's really important to think about where you want your shape to sit. So I'm back onto that previously cut section. I can see my guide underneath, and I cut to the guide. I'm using the fine teeth of the comb now because I really want to get that clean, sharp edge. Back onto the previously cut section. So that starts to drop away. So what I'm doing is extending it now, and it's starting to form a little bit of a disconnection. So I'm gaining length as I move to the front. See that? It's connecting, slightly disconnected there. So there's the shorter piece here, and that's just in 2 sections. So by the 3rd section, we're down to here. So coming back to the opposite side, exactly the same. Coming back onto that previously cut section. I can see my guide really clearly there. If you can't see your guide, don't cut it. Again, you'll see on that, as we come to the corner, it disconnects. So there's the shorter piece under there. And then that's just a centimetre and a half longer. So it just starts to lay over, but it visually connects. You don't have a strong line there. And that's all about getting that shape right. If I cut that like that, I end up with a tail. I don't want a tail, I want it to build in this shape through here, and that's going to strengthen the haircut off, and then I'll square it off. When I square it off though, I'm going to break it up. That's where I'm going to really start to loosen up. And that's the difference between, I think, being a hairdresser and maybe a barber. You know, you sort of traditionally, we learn on men's and women's hair, and we put both elements into the men's haircut. We're building with strength and structure, but we can also come in and break it right up. And that's going to still be strong and square, but it's going to be looser on the top and more versatile. Yeah, that shape's building really nicely through there. Nice and tapered. And I've just come into a bit of hair here. So Alistair's got a lot of hair. So it's something that I'm going to break up and take a bit out. But I think, you know, a full head of hair is great. He's got a good hairline. He's a handsome man. So we'll move into the sides. We're just going to keep going with what we're doing. We're going to work with the middle part, but we're ignoring this piece, right? So it just comes over, and then we end up with a point on the top that we're going to take off afterwards. So what I'm going to do with these sections is take them slightly diagonal forward. And I'm going to come back to the previously cut section. There's my section underneath. My fingers are at the same angles. I'm parallel to the part. You can see that increasing in length, but without even taking any weight out, there's this visual blend, which is exactly what I wanted. So coming back, nice and firm, really clean with your sections. Last section back, and I'll come back a couple of sections because I want to give myself a little bit of leeway here. If the recession area is wider or goes back further, we really got to be careful that we don't cut that too short there, because you end up with a gap. So this is a pretty good classic hairline. So you can see my shape build like this. Obviously I'm not styling it like this, it's going back. But you can just see the increase by just moving back to that previously cut section, and you end up with the point at the front. And if you pick this up, as we'll see, there'll be a point in the middle, yeah? So you've got your strength and your strength, and this is gonna be the loose bit, yeah? So we're gonna just pull that up. Still quite firm. I'm using the wide teeth now though. And then I'm just going to bust that up. So it's a really quite a rustic point cut. Take half of that section and we're going to move back onto that previously cut section. Remember, I've cut all of this, so I don't have to worry about that. All I'm going to do is, it's my connection, my dot to dot. There's my 2 dots. And come in and take that point off. And I am projecting back onto that previously cut section because I want to increase the length slightly toward the front. All right, so where you're pushing that back now, you can see, you know, the haircut still needs a little bit of work. And then when I say work, I mean, I just want to take a bit of that weight out. But you can see by putting that graduation in, yeah, this is longer than that, but you get this really cool blend through there. So you've got the classic haircut here, and it's a little bit looser on the top. It's a really nice line through there. So once we style it, you'll see that he can ruffle it around and do that, or we could just slick it back. You know, we could move into a really classic look. Nice. So a bit of weight removal. Again, I'm just going to slide it out and slice it, but I go down a bit closer to the roots than I had in the previous haircut. I think get a little bit of that bulk out. So I'm just channeling a few pieces out. That's going to add to the texture, but it's also going to remove some of the bulk. Because again, it's really fine strand of hair, loads of hair. It's really dense, loads of it in there. Right, so I'm going to do something a little bit different with the finish and put a diffuser on. I know we haven't used these for a while, but what it does is diffuses the airflow so it's not blowing every which way and lets the hair be itself. So you can create a little bit of volume and texture with that. And I might take it off and blast it through at the end, but I just want to just lift it up with this and then just run it through. Maybe I'm not really hot because I want to run it close to his scalp. So I'm literally just holding that over the hair, fingers a little bit, but they're in the same sort of format. So this is my brush, I guess. And just especially through that sort of graduated area where it connects up, just let it be itself. Give it a little bit more volume. I just want it to sort of flop over where it flops over. Let it be itself, and it looks like it's partial to coming this way. I think when you force something, it never works long term. You know, the client's got to wake up the next day and resurrect what you've done. So it's really important to sort of let it fall in its natural fall and talk to the client about that, and then, you know, prescribe the right product. You know, that's really important. If we give them the wrong product, they lose faith in us. So I think I'm going in with the clay shaper. It's dry, it's a matte finish. So I really like that. It breaks the hair up and it gives it plenty of hold at the same time, but it's still versatile. I can still ruffle it around. It's not the end, you know? And I think men touch their hair a fair bit, as much as they say they don't, but they zhuzh it all the time. And I think it's something that, you know, you've got to really get the right product in there for that to work. You can see that's just allowing the hair to move a little bit. There's a little bit of natural wave, and that's what I'm hunting for. I'm just hoping that there's enough in there to give that little bit of texture. And then what we'll do with the product is put that through anyway and rake it out, but it'll still move a little bit. I don't want it to look too blow waved. I think that's the thing. It's nothing worse than that, for me anyway. It's not 1984. So I've got the dryer now on a 1 bar of heat, goes up to 3. So I just want to get that close to the scalp and just run it through that. And you can see that it's sort of like my fingers going through, but it's not blowing it every which way. Dries the hair off, because you want to 100% dry the hair off with a diffuser. Don't just dry it till it's just about there, because it will, you know, in Queensland with the humidity or anywhere there's a bit of humidity, it'll go away. So you need to really get the hair dry. It's important. It's not a quick way out. It takes as long as it does when you use a brush. It's just a different technique. And I just twist that slightly up here, just to produce a little bit more movement. And then just rake it out. And it's just looking great. Like, it's just falling really nicely. You can see that, you know, if that sort of came forward like that, it'd still work. And then you can go back quite classic. My product of choice is Clay Shaper. I love it because it's got a dry sort of flavour. It's not too like shiny. And I think for men's hair, we need to think matte. That's just my thing. I like it. So it's a nice strong product. It's a clay. So get your finger in there. I tend to get like a finger full and then break it up. You know, it's quite firm. So really get stuck into it, warm it up, and then get it out to those fingertips like that. So use it off your palm, just borrow a bit. And then what we want to do is just run our fingers through like this. Really give that direction, yeah? Need a little bit more, you come back to the palms and give that a bit of direction, come up through here. Because when it's at the roots there, you can see it there, it just gives that little bit of hold or a lot of hold. And that will keep his hair up there like that all day. And you've got to show them this, you know? Don't just not talk about it as you're putting product in. I think we've got to educate our client. And then it's sort of not that awkward sales thing, it's an education. And I think if they bring in a photo of someone, every one of those people have product in their hair. So that's probably where we should start in our consultation. How do you get this look? You need this product and this product, and that's it. And then we build the haircut around there. They have to buy the product then. So I think we've got to get back to that. You know, we're the professional and we know how to get that look, and this is how you get it, and we can sell this to you, you know? I think it's really important. Here's our finished look with Alistair. If you remember the before, wow, what a change. We got this handsome and really masculine look, but it's got this disheveled top, which I think is really current. And I think that's where we're going, is this semi-short back and sides. It's medium back and sides, so it's still tight, but there's hair here, you know? And you could sort of slick that and make it really, really gangster, or you could just go loose on the top, you know? And that's what the diffuser gave us, a little bit of texture, and I think that's really cool and casual. So I hope you love this, because I love doing it, and I love doing guys' hair. I think that's a really big part of our business. They all buy product, so remember that. Enjoy, get cutting, see you soon.